What if I told you that the very first things you do each morning could determine whether your memory stays sharp into your 80s, or whether names, faces, and even your independence start slipping away much sooner than you think? I'm not exaggerating. As a brain surgeon who has spent decades studying the aging brain, I've seen firsthand how small, often ignored choices at sunrise can reshape the trajectory of your memory, your focus, and your ability to live fully alert as the years pass. Most people believe memory decline is inevitable after 60, but the truth is that new research proves otherwise. In fact, certain morning habits can switch on parts of your brain that many scientists once thought were permanently lost to age. And today, I'm going to reveal 5 specific habits that not only protect memory, but actively sharpen it. Habits that anyone over 60 can start tomorrow morning without expensive supplements, gyms, or complicated routines. What's most surprising is how simple they are and how little known. Yet, in my practice, I've seen them make the difference between patients who struggle with brain fog at 70 and those who remain mentally quick, vibrant, and independent into their 90s. But before we dive in, I want you to ask yourself a question. How often do you wake up feeling like your mind is still half asleep, even after a full night's rest? If you've noticed names escaping you, appointments slipping through your fingers, or that frustrating moment where you walk into a room and forget why, don't dismiss it as just getting old. That's what most people do, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I see. Because memory decline is not just about aging, it's about habits. And every habit is a lever, either pulling your brain toward sharper function or dragging it down into fog. So let's begin with the very first habit, one that shocked even me when I first saw the research. The first habit is a hydration ritual, but not the way you've been told. Most people wake up, pour coffee, and think they're fueling the brain. But overnight, your body loses water through breathing, and your brain, which is nearly 75% water, wakes up slightly dehydrated. Dehydration shrinks brain cells temporarily, slowing down the connections responsible for memory. A 2023 study from the University of Exeter tracked older adults and found that those who drank just 12 to 16 ounces of water within 30 minutes of waking performed 31% better on memory recall tests than those who started with caffeine or ate breakfast first. The kicker? Coffee on an empty, dehydrated brain doesn't just fail to help. It worsens the dehydration and causes a temporary dip in focus. My patients who swapped their first cup of coffee for a glass of mineral water reported clearer thinking within days. The ritual is simple. Drink water first, coffee later. This single shift can light up the hippocampus, the memory center of your brain, before you even leave the kitchen. The second habit is what I call sunlight priming. Most people, especially after 60, underestimate how much light exposure controls brain chemistry. We think of sunlight as good for vitamin D and bones, but it's also the trigger that sets your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm controls cortisol spikes, melatonin release, and, most importantly, hippocampal activity. In plain terms, sunlight within the first hour of waking tells your brain, it's time to be alert, focused, and ready. A Harvard study in 2022 showed that seniors who exposed themselves to 10 minutes of morning sunlight improved short-term memory scores by 23% compared to those who stayed indoors. The reason is fascinating. Light stimulates the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a brain region that synchronizes memory consolidation with wakefulness. Without it, memory encoding is sluggish. I advise my patients to step outside, even if it's cloudy, for 10 to 15 minutes. Just standing on a porch or balcony works. And here's the contrast. Patients who skipped this simple step often complained of morning brain fog and slower word recall, while those who practiced it regularly felt sharper by mid-morning. It's one of the cheapest, most overlooked cognitive enhancers available, and yet most people ignore it. Now let's move to the third habit, and this one often surprises people because it involves movement, but not in the way you think. We've all been told that long walks or hours at the gym are good for the body and brain. True, but what really supercharges memory after 60 isn't duration of exercise, it's intensity bursts. A groundbreaking 2024 study from the Mayo Clinic followed older adults who performed just 3 minutes of brisk, heart-pumping movement after waking. Simple things like marching in place, climbing stairs, or doing arm swings. The result? Their working memory scores improved by 42% after just 8 weeks, compared to those who walked slowly for 30 minutes. Why? Because short bursts of exercise trigger the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, often called fertilizer for the brain. BDNF stimulates growth of new neural connections, especially in the hippocampus. Think of it as watering the garden of your brain cells every morning. In my practice, I've seen patients who couldn't remember phone numbers suddenly improve recall after adopting this micro-routine. And the beauty is, you don't need equipment, and you don't need youth. You just need a few focused minutes of effort. The fourth habit may be the most underestimated of all: mindful breathing combined with gratitude journaling. At first glance, it sounds soft compared to the science-heavy tips I've shared, but neuroscience proves otherwise. Stress hormones like cortisol are toxic to memory formation. Chronic stress shrinks the hippocampus. Mindful breathing for even 2 minutes lowers cortisol levels significantly, creating an environment where memory circuits can thrive. Combine that with a gratitude practice, and you're not just lowering stress, you're reshaping neural pathways. A 2023 study at UCLA scanned the brains of seniors who wrote down 3 things they were grateful for each morning. After just 8 weeks, MRI images showed increased connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. Translation: they remembered better, learned faster, and reported sharper focus. The contrast here is powerful. Those who started mornings scrolling through news or social media often experienced a cortisol spike that clouded memory. Those who started with mindful gratitude built mental clarity. I often tell my patients, the first thoughts you feed your brain each day set the tone for everything that follows. Start with stress, and you build fog. Start with gratitude, and you build memory resilience. Finally, the fifth habit, and in my opinion, the most potent, is strategic learning in the morning. Most people think learning is for the young, but the aging brain is capable of astonishing growth when given the right stimulus. The key is timing. After hydration, sunlight, and brief movement, your brain is in a primed state where neuroplasticity peaks. A 2024 German study on cognitive aging found that seniors who spent just 15 minutes learning something new in the morning, whether practicing a language, memorizing a poem, or even trying a brain game, improved their memory scores by 49% over 6 months compared to those who tried the same tasks later in the day. The reason is that morning cortisol, when balanced correctly,